Well, anyone who thinks that abortion is the foundation of the feminist movement has never met my first guest. She is a tireless campaigner for women's rights and against sexual assault and domestic violence. Please join me in welcoming the president of Feminists for Life, Serrin Foster. Serrin, it is great having you here. What is it that makes you different than, let's say, a lot of the feminists who say that it's all about abortion and it's about that more than anything else?
Well, I think when I listen to the voices of women, and thank you for inviting a feminist on your show, and for everybody here for listening to a feminist. So for Feminists for Life, we believe that women deserve better. And it echoes what Susan B. Anthony said years ago about how she worked so tirelessly for women because she wanted better circumstances. And she's a pro-life publisher. She wrote volumes of articles, or had volumes of articles published by other pro-life feminists. So Feminists for Life found out we were not the first pro-life feminist group, that the early American feminists were pro-life too.
But you know, you make a great point, and Susan B. Anthony is somebody who is held up often by women really across the culture as one of the really originators of the feminist movement. Let's define, what does that mean? When somebody says, what is a feminist?
Well, to me, it means that you believe in the dignity of every human being, and you believe in the strength of women, and you don't do it at the expense of men or your own children. And so it's a belief in everyone's importance. And like you were talking about the special needs babies. My mom was a special ed teacher, and nobody hugs harder than kids with special needs. I mean, they love you unconditionally. And I think about all these women who've been talked into abortions because their babies weren't perfect in utero. And I think about how they might know now that they've robbed themselves. And I do want to say something about everybody here in the audience and people who watch at home, that we aren't here to condemn or judge or harm women or shame them for having an abortion. We have a lot of people in our organization and within the pro-life movement who welcome women who've regretted their abortions and recognize it's a part of a spectrum of reproductive grief and that they deserved better, and there is hope and healing for them. So I don't want anybody, I just want you to know that Feminists for Life is here because we want to free women from abortion. That's what we want to do.
I'm so grateful that there's a new wave of recognizing that we need to give extraordinary compassion, love, grace to women who have made the decision and never condemn them, and certainly never criminalize them. And you made a statement that I read that I thought was so powerful, and you said we shouldn't criminalize women, we should criminalize people who abuse women, criminalize people who don't pay their child support. You can say it better than me, but I thought there's nothing that you said in that I disagree with. So maybe you've turned me into a feminist. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Welcome.
There.
Welcome. Thank you.
But what you've just described, Serrin, is something that I think all of us can agree.
Well, and I welcome this opportunity because it's a different conversation with you, and because you listen to people who have been harmed by abortion, or people who have participated in abortion, or feminists, or people who are a combination thereof. Because I think we've got the whole dynamic going where people are yelling at one another constantly now, and it's really harmed people. It's not helpful at all. And I think that if you sat there and you looked at one corner and you've got people over here saying, I'm a feminist and I support abortion, you have people over here, I'm pro-life and I'm conservative, and you started sitting there thinking about the reasons why she had an abortion, you come closer and closer to sit there saying, I can argue about how to solve this problem, but I agree that she deserves better. And
I love that that's really the theme of Feminists for Life. Women deserve better.
Absolutely.
So I've got to believe that there are a lot of women who are very angry at you and at Feminists for Life because they feel like that you're not carrying the torch for women.
I think there's a lot of hurting women, and it translates into anger because people will mask hurt with anger. And I think that's why we have to be better at listening and welcoming people and recognizing that when you see it.
Serrin, don't you think that science has had a big impact on helping more people to become pro-life? They see a sonogram. You know, you can argue, well, it's just a sort of a blob of protoplasm. But when you see the image of a baby in a sonogram, even at just a few weeks, it's hard to dismiss that as a human life. How much has that had an impact?
It's huge. I mean, the technology is enormous. And it has changed the conversation. And so now we're having a different conversation. We're not talking about if it's a human and it's a being, because it's a human and a being. And so we get that. We can't, it's undeniable. But we have to sit there and have the conversation about, well, why women are having abortions, and change that, because that's where you find that you can change everybody's hearts and mind. But you're absolutely right.
Well, a lot of college campuses are now beginning to build chapters, Feminists for Life. And obviously, it's got to be one of the most important sort of training grounds to help people to begin to understand, who am I as a female, but what does that mean, and how do I carry out the theme of women deserve better? Well,
we have a new website called womendeservebetter.com, which is not an argument. It's just a place for pure help. I think we have to sit there and think about the feminization of poverty and how to end it, and it's with having and completing your education, workplace accommodations, and bringing fathers back into the picture. Those are the three answers to ending this. And you get rid of all the child support issues that drive women into poverty. But Feminists for Life, really, we work with all the pro-life student groups that we can. We will do anything we can for them. We give them everything that they need to bring a message to campus, to bring the history to campus. We've shared it with a lot of other student groups at the national, the state, and the campus level. And we want to do this also in the workplace, too, because that's the next step. And we do have men who are members of Feminists for Life, board members, and they love the fact that they can respect women, love women, and many of them have brought their wives and girlfriends into the movement as well. So feminism isn't just about being pro-woman, it's about being pro-everybody.
Well, I want to tell you how much I enjoy visiting with you. It's always been a pleasure. And I thank you for what you're doing. And I want to say thanks to Serrin Foster for proving that being pro-women's rights and pro-life are not mutually exclusive. You can learn a lot more about Serrin and her work at feministsforlife.org. You'll discover the pro-life history of feminism, and you can invite Serrin Foster to speak to your group. Maybe you will start your own group on a college campus. It all begins at feministsforlife.org.